How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Tirade TV. First of all, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please catch the podcast on Spotify if you haven't already. So you know how it's going to go. If you've watched a couple of the videos before or listened to us before, just going to express my opinion on a news headline or two. Definitely right now, there's one that I saw this morning that I definitely want to express my opinion on. And let's do this real fast so we can actually see or hear what I'm talking about here. According to NBC News, headline: Police won't be charged in the death of Amir Locke, black man shot during no-knock warrant. And my apologies if I'm mispronouncing the young man's last name. Look like it's pronounced Locke, but my apologies if I'm not correct on that. Let's take a look at the headline here. Let's take a look at the article, right? It says no charges will be filed in the death of Amir Locke, a black 22-year-old man shot by a SWAT team officer during a no-knock warrant raid in Minneapolis in February, officials announced Wednesday. Hennepin County Attorney Michael Freeman and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison said in a statement they are declining to file criminal charges in his death. The officials said they determined that after a quote-unquote thorough review, there is insufficient admissible evidence to file criminal charges in this case. That was quoted. Says Amir Locke's mother, Karen Wells, said Wednesday afternoon after the decision was announced, quote, I am not disappointed. I am disgusted with the city of Minneapolis, unquote. The statement by the attorney said that the state would be unable to disprove, quote unquote, beyond a reasonable doubt elements of Minnesota's use of deadly force statute that would have authorized use of force by Mark Hanneman, the officer who shot Locke. The attorneys also said that the state would be unable to prove beyond a reasonable doubt a criminal charge against any other officer involved in the quote unquote decision making that led to the death of Amir Locke. Locke was killed on February 2nd after two officers stormed into the apartment he was in and found him on the couch covered in a blanket. Minneapolis police officers said the officer opened fire after seeing the barrel of a gun come into view from under the blanket. Wow. Locke was shot 3 times in the incident. The attorneys explained that under Minnesota law, peace officers are authorized to use deadly force while in the line of duty to protect other officers and another from death or great bodily harm. They said during a news conference after the announcement that Locke's hand was seen holding a firearm, though his finger was not on the trigger, and at one point it was pointed directly at Hanneman. In the statement, officials said Hanneman perceived the movements as a threat of death or great bodily harm. Locke was not a suspect in the investigation connected to the search warrants. His death once again rocked the city of Minneapolis nearly 2 years after the death of George Floyd by then Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Quote, Amir Locke's life mattered, unquote, the attorney said in a joint statement. Quote, he should be alive today and his death is a tragedy. Amir Locke was not a suspect in the underlying St. Paul criminal investigation, nor was he named in the search warrants. Amir Locke is a victim, unquote. Quote, this tragedy may have not occurred absent the no-knock warrant used in this case, unquote, the statement added. Let me just say this. First of all, prayers definitely, and honestly, I didn't hear much about it before this, but definitely prayers to, the young man's family, the Locke family, his mom, and whoever else may be involved or related to him. It's definitely definitely a tragedy. It's definitely speaking and looking at it from the perspective of another, African American, in a black man in this country. But something concerns me about this. Not just that a young man's life was taken, not that a police officer did it. Yes, that's very concerning. Both of those are. But as a black man and a father, I always wonder how our young men keep getting put in these situations. And I'm wondering, do we really know the people we hang around? Because obviously there's an investigation going on in this area, which led the police or the SWAT team to this particular apartment. And it also said the young man, Mr. Locke, was not part of the warrant. My question would be, why was he there? Was he just staying with a friend, relative, whatever? See, sometimes you have to know the people you're around. Let's just say you have a best buddy or a cousin. Cousin says, "Hey, come spend the weekend with me. Come spend the month with me, whatever. I live such and such place." You say, "Okay, cool. We can hang out, catch up on old times, do whatever." Then you get to the apartment or the house, wherever, and you start noticing the area, the surroundings, and you start noticing, something's not quite right. This may not be a particularly good area. And you may find out that your cousin or buddy, whomever, is doing things illegally or involved in some things that you don't want to necessarily be involved in. Question: what should be your next move? A, continue to stay and chill, even though you know there's a possibility it could be dangerous, have a dangerous outcome. Or two, or B, should we say, "No, I'm going back home. I'm just not really feeling it right now." The answer should be B in that case. Because if you read the article, obviously they were after someone, but it wasn't Mr. Locke. Number Think about it this. Think about this. As a as a Second Amendment, I guess you could say, advocate, yes, I do believe you should have protection in your home to protect your family. Not just to go out and do violence or commit crimes or anything. No. I'm talking about just to protect your family and your belongings. Right? And also to stand up, for any tyrannical government or dictatorship or leadership, whatever. But non-violent, no violence, not going out murdering people, right? Okay. But this young man felt the need to be under the blanket with a gun. Now, what made him feel that way? That he had to be under the blanket with a gun? Did he just grab the gun when he heard someone bust the door in, or was he already sleeping with it? Who knows? But my point is we have to put ourselves in better situations. If you understand where I'm going with this, especially as black men in America, we have to put ourselves in better situations. Stop hanging around people that do not have your best intentions at heart. Regardless, I don't care if it's a family member or a friend or whomever. I don't care if it's someone you've known since you were in kindergarten. I don't care. If that person is not putting you in the best situation, it may be time for you to leave that person alone. I mean, it seemed like every time this happened, that person or people are in areas or in environments where they really shouldn't be. And this is not to blame anyone, Mr. Locke, anyone else. I'm just saying overall, in general, we have to put ourselves in better situation. It could have been a situation where Mr. Locke, was staying with someone and had no idea what they were into. That is possible. The other people who are living in the home may have been into some things, which maybe that's why the police were investigating. Maybe that's why there was a the SWAT team showed up, and he may have not known anything. And naturally, if you're laying in your house and or your apartment, and someone breaks down the door, if you have a weapon, a firearm, more than likely, if they're unannounced, you're gonna grab it. Like, who would not do that? Because it's our right to protect and defend ourselves. That's your God given right to protect and defend yourself. But we have to know where we are. If you're in an apartment, well, is this just a regular apartment in the suburbs? Is this a trap house? What is it? Because if it's a trap house or a crack house or whatever, you probably don't need to be there to begin with. And there are usually signs. The people that you hang around generally show you who they are. I think it was said, when someone show you who they are, believe them. I think it was Maya Angelou said that, or someone. But yeah, people always show you who they are. People will always, give little red flags as to what they're doing with their lives, what they're involved in. And no matter how much you may like or love that person, it may be time to split. And I'm not saying this is exactly what happened here. Who knows? Because this article here didn't give all the details. And I try to put myself in the shoes of both sides. I know me, if I'm laying in a first of all, I try to keep myself out of bad areas. I spent some time in bad areas and I couldn't wait to get out, get in a better area. But let's just say, if I'm in my house and it's the middle of the night, morning, whatever, middle of the day, doesn't matter, and someone just kicks my door open, well, yeah, the first thing I'm going to do, if I don't know who it is, or they're not announced, yeah, I'm going to grab something to defend myself with. It is what it is. That's a natural instinct. That's looking at it from the perspective of, let's say, Mr. Locke. But if I'm looking at it from the perspective of the police officer, I'm doing my job. An investigation has led me here, or my team here, and we have to go in and get the so-called quote unquote bad guys. And I kick in the door. Well, yes, I'm going to kick in the door. And obviously, when you're in a situation, you're going to be on alert. So if you bust in the room and someone's laying there and you see a gun barrel, well, yeah, your natural instinct is going to be to shoot, because in that split second decision, you have to make a choice. It's like, do I get shot and potentially not go home to my family and kids, or do I shoot someone else? Like, everyone always has an opinion about this, but let's be honest with you. Most people, regardless if it's mainstream media or someone on social media or some politician who really don't care at the end of the day, let's be honest, they're just trying to use it for political gain, regardless of what side you vote on, red, blue, Republican, Democrat, really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if your favorite politician is a white person or a black person or Hispanic, doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Very few, if any, actually really care about it. They're just trying to figure out how they can use it for political gain. So you put yourselves in the shoes of both people, it makes it so difficult, because I could see a case where both sides are right. And the only way to resolve that is to not put yourself in a situation to begin with. Now, I can see if you're just riding down the street and then the police stop you, your tag's illegal, you're not speeding, then you're not riding around and smoke coming all out the windows. And, you know, I could see that. You're just riding, you're riding around your little Honda Accord or Honda Civic, whatever, Toyota, whatever, and everything. You just going, just driving. Like I say, you obeying all the laws, and all of a sudden, Mr. and Mrs. Police Officer stop you, and then they start to harass you. I could see that. No need for that. None at all. But here's the thing. If you're in bad areas, bad sides of town, bad projects, bad apartment communities, bad subdivisions where the crime rate is very high, which means there's going to be a very good possibility that the police will be nearby. You have to do your best to remove yourself from those situations. And I understand it's easier said than done because some people don't have any place to go. And my heart goes out to those people. I remember one time, my wife and I, my brother, we were actually riding around in Houston, Texas. And we were actually homeless at the time. And we're riding around and we had a lot of things in the car with us because, like I say, we were homeless. So we had clothes and maybe some food, whatever, a lot of things in the car. And we're actually driving through Fifth Ward, of all places, Fifth Ward. And my wife's like, you know what? I need to change shirts. I don't like this particular shirt that I'm wearing. So what we do is, because my brother's in the car, she didn't want to change clothes in front of him. So what we did is we're like, hey, can you step out the car for a minute? We're gonna pull over here, drive up the street, and she's gonna change shirts, and then we're gonna come back and pick you up. Right? But we told him not to go far, stay very close. Right? We drive a little bit up the street, we park on the side of the street, and she's changing clothes. Remember, we're in Fifth Ward. And historically, Fifth Ward has been a very crime-ridden place. No disrespect for the people of Fifth Ward because I love those people over there. I mean, I think people underestimate, you know, the smartness and intelligence of people in Fifth Ward because of the history of certain, because of the criminal history over there, right? The police officer sees us, pulls up behind us, actually pulls up right next to us. If like we're facing this way, his car's facing the other way, but he's on the other side of the street. And he basically comes to the car, gets me out, secures me, put me in the back of the police cruiser, whatever they call them. And then he starts questioning my wife about drug use, right? And we were upset. And the officer, he was either white or Hispanic. Really couldn't tell. White or Hispanic. Um, and I'm in the car. He's at the front of the police cruiser with my wife questioning her, basically trying to get her to say that she's a drug user. You know, how many times you shot up? When's the last time you shot up? And my wife's looking at showing her arms like, you don't see any marks, anything, in my arms where I've been shooting up. I'm not a drug user, you know. So I'm in the car talking. No, I was like, yeah, everybody's going to owe us an apology. I want an apology from the mayor. I want an apology from everybody, public apology. That's what I'm doing in the back seat because he had the window down a little bit. So, he could actually hear me. Right. So he ended up letting us go. But I was actually upset about it, obviously, because not so much that he put me in the back of the car, but the fact that he had my wife out there trying to make it seem like she's someone that she wasn't and isn't. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, man, what would have happened if we wouldn't have been in that area to begin with? If my wife wanted to change the shirt, I could have been like, hey, you know what? Let's just go pull in this parking lot somewhere, public park. Let's go to a public restroom somewhere, go in there, change your shirt, and then come back out. Or anywhere where there's no people. Maybe there's an empty parking lot somewhere that's away from everyone. Okay, go do it there. Now, not giving the police officer any praise or anything. I'm just saying that we put ourselves in that situation because what else could we expect being in that particular area? You see what I mean? And that instant right there, that situation there taught me that I need and we need to keep ourselves out of certain situations. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Keep ourselves out of certain situations. That's all I'm saying at the end of the day. Like we can't control what anyone else do, but we can control what we do at the end of the day. Do everything it takes to get yourself in a better living environment. Do everything you can to take to put yourself in a situation where you have better friends, better associates, acquaintances, whatever. Because not all of them mean good for you. Not all of them. That's what I have to say on that. Put yourselves in better situations.
Another thing I would like to know is what actually led them to this apartment. Like, I didn't see the specifics on that. Was it the correct apartment? Now if they rated the wrong apartment, man, whoo, telling you, it's not gonna be good for them. But yeah, I didn't really get the specifics on what led them to this particular apartment. Like, who were they looking for and what were they looking for? I don't know if it's their, if they have to reveal that. And I'm assuming they should, because look what happened. Something tragic happened. So I'm assuming, maybe they won't, because of the person that they're actually looking for. The people that they're actually looking for are still, at large. So they probably won't. But just from looking at the video, the the building doesn't look bad. It doesn't look like a trashy, project-ish type of building. And from looking in the apartment, it wasn't a bad looking apartment. And the guy raises up and looked like he was actually asleep. And they opened the door. They actually used the key. They didn't kick the door down. They used the key. But he's definitely surprised. At the same time, he was sleeping under the cover with a gun. And my question is always, what make you feel like you have to sleep under the cover with a gun? That's my question. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, which is a possibility. The whole situation is just not good. I don't know if there are going to be any winners in this. Obviously, the family, the Locke family, is definitely not a winner right now. Sad situation. Uh, like I said, the only thing we can really do is keep ourselves in better situations around good people. Definitely stay prayed up. Just remember that we have a God in heaven watching over us. At the same time, he expects us to do the spiritual. At the same time, we need to back it up by doing what we can in the physical too, which is putting ourselves in better situations. But yeah, that's the question that's going to always be in my mind: is he was sleeping under the blanket with a gun? Why did he feel that? Why did he feel the need to protect himself that way? Like most people I know that have firearms, they're not sleeping with them under the cover. They may have them in a safe or something like that, but they're not sleeping with them under the cover. And I don't know. It's wow, it's crazy. Anyways, please leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. I mean, once again, another tragic situation. Uh, Police kill, you know, another young black man. Let me know what you all think. And once again, thanks for watching Tirade TV.